Hello, fantasy managers, and welcome to the First Pitch Podcast. My name is Trevor Huth. It's the weekend again, so I am back with you. And a rain delay and some extra innings, and we are finally over with games for the day. Marcell Ozuna hitting an 11th run home run off known high leverage reliever Joe Ross rather. So that's the way our games ended today. I mean, a rain delay and some extra innings isn't well makes for some dramatics, I guess. So, jumping into news that happened over the course of yesterday, the Cubs acquired Tom Cosgrove from the Padres. Cosgrove has had some success. He was DFA'd by San Diego, and in a corresponding move, the Cubs DFA Caleb Killian, who was somebody that they got in the Chris Bryant trade a few years back, and that means the Cubs now have neither player they got in the Chris Bryant trade potentially. If Caleb Killian moves somewhere else, then they've now lost Alexander Canario and Caleb Killian, both of whom they got in that Chris Bryant trade. This is minor in terms of how it affects fantasy rosters and fantasy lineups, but just, something to note as news around baseball. Something that potentially maybe could matter for fantasy purposes. Yes, Monty Grandal signing a minor league deal with the Boston Red Sox. Connor Wong has his broken finger, so now it's Carlos Narvaez and Blake Sabel who are the current catching options. So if Grandal can, put together some good performances as he gets going, potentially he gets a call. Potentially could be catching some games in Boston during Connor Wong's absence. So something to monitor, not something that's immediately necessary, but definitely something to keep note on. Prospect promotion news: the White Sox have promoted Chase Meadroth. Corresponding move has not been announced yet. He will have to be added to the 40-man roster. He is a contact-heavy guy with really good plate discipline and not a lot of power. He showed, I guess, a little bit more in terms of some of the numbers in the minors, but this year, but not someone who is known to have a ton of power. Still fun to see some prospects called up. Chase Meadroth getting the call for the White Sox. Again, corresponding move to come has not been announced at this point. Speaking of prospects, one of the service time deadlines is now passed. So we might start seeing some more prospects called up. I think Kurtz from the A's, who I've talked about, he's a guy who we probably could see called up within the next few days, among a few others for the teams waiting on service time manipulation. Not that they do that, but if they were to do that, there's a deadline that has been passed. Ryan Bliss, bicep surgery. Speedy second baseman. I've talked about him on the First Pitch Podcast before. A guy who, if he needed some stolen bases kind of later in drafts, looked like he was going to get some good playing time as the second baseman in Seattle. And, he kind of was, but going to miss 4 to 5 months now with that bicep surgery. So Ryan Bliss out. Implications that probably just means Dylan Moore gets some more playing time. And of course, they have Polanco to kind of split that, and JP Crawford playing shortstop as always. So Ryan Bliss out 4 to 5 months with that bicep surgery. The Angels have selected JD Davis. I don't have much else to say about that, but the Angels selected JD Davis. How about that? And late night news dropping late at night. That's, I guess, why they call it late night news. Bobby Miller, remember him? It seems like he may get a call up next week to start an MLB game. It's been a long road. This was supposed to be hopefully a bounce back year for him. We'll see what happens. The Dodgers, of course, could do anything with their rotation. And apparently one of the things they're deciding they might do is bring Bobby Miller back up to start a game. It'd be just a spot start, but he'd be facing off against Colorado is where the projections that we have him kind of starting. So if he does pitch against Colorado, it's not in Colorado. That could be interesting, but keep in mind at AAA so far this year in 9.2 innings, he has 3 earned runs, and which isn't bad necessarily, but he also has struck out 7 and walked 8. So Bobby Miller, again, may pitch in an MLB game next week, but the command's still been a little bit spotty. Not sure that he's somebody you want to go after, but the matchup could be good. If it's the Rockies and not in Coors, the matchup could be good enough where if you need pitching, if you've been hit by that injury bug that has just gone down this week, my gosh, he might be someone who's potentially worth a flyer, maybe have more upside than some of the other guys that day. Kind of depends what the matchups look like. But monitor that. Anything can happen. It's the Dodgers. It's not official yet. They're just thinking about it. If they think about it and they go, not a bad idea, well, who knows? Maybe. Some hitter highlights from yesterday's game. Tyler Heineman, 3 for 4 with an RBI, not worth pickup, but he's backing up Alejandro Kirk and had a pretty good day swinging the bat so far in the small chances he's gotten. Brewers catcher William Contreras off to a slow start, had a double and a walk in this one, hopefully starting to pick things up because he's one of the top catching options. So if you invested in him in drafts, you're kind of hoping that he's going to pick things up here soon. I have Junior Diaz. I'm hoping the exact same thing. I need him to start picking things up soon. Jackson Churio also up hitting 310 now. He's really caught fire as of late. Moving to Colorado, Brenton Doyle hit a bomb today, went 3 for 5 with 5 RBIs. So a solid day for Brenton Doyle. Matt Wallner with the Twins. They've moved him to the leadoff spot, which I, at the time, with my very limited wisdom, which is almost none, was like, why? I didn't quite understand it. I mean, he's a high volume strikeout guy with some pop, and that's still what's happening. He's hitting 268 out of that leadoff spot this year, but his strikeout rate is still near 30%, and his walk rate is near 15%. So he's getting on base, but he's still striking out a lot. The power isn't quite there. I mean, that's been his thing. Is he should be able to wallop the baseball, and not quite walloping, but still getting on base out of that leadoff spot. Still kind of weird for me to see him in the. Personally, I think it's odd. Could be alone in that, but not something that I would think would happen. Stephen Kwan. Oh my gosh. I'm a huge Stephen Kwan fan. I have him everywhere possible. And he's a guy who constantly people are trying to pull away from me. And I just don't let him. I just can't do it. If nothing else, just such a great batting average stabilizer in fantasy lineups. Great day yesterday, 4 for 5 with a home run and 4 RBIs. He's hitting 356 in the early going this year. Stephen Kwan, man, just reliable guy. Love having him in my fantasy lineups. Kyle Manzardo with another bomb. That makes 4 on the year. He's not as hot as he was to start. As you've seen his average start to dip down. I think he's in like the 220 area, but hit another bomb in the game yesterday. Junior Caminero, 3 for 4 with a double. Of course, Junior Caminero is just bat speed king. I keep seeing graphics on social media. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm remembering this correctly, has the fastest bat speed of anyone in the MLB so far this year. I mean, just whips that bat around, and hoping that starts to translate a little more into some game power. But definitely a fun player, and obviously well earned that top prospect status that he had at once. Hopefully, start to see some production out of him. The Angels lineup, definitely worth talking about. They had 3 guys homer, but they all did it twice. Taylor Ward, 2 bombs. Joe Adell, 2 bombs. Mike Trout, 2 bombs. It's a pretty good day for your lineup. They scored 11 runs in total. Not good for the opposing pitchers, but pretty good day for that lineup. And of course, in that final game that ended between the Braves and the Phillies, Marcell Ozuna had his walk-off bomb. Kyle Schwarber also had a bomb. Nick Castellanos 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts in that game. Rough day at the plate. Moving on to some starting pitching, some highlight performances from yesterday. Chris Bassett still killing it this year. Went 5.2 innings, 5 strikeouts, 1 earned run, and his ERA is 0.98 in the early going. So Chris Bassett just having a great start to the year. Walker Buehler flashing something. Who knows where he's going to go, but 6.1 innings, 7 strikeouts. Only 1 earned run, 1 walk. That lowers his season ERA to 5.74. So a good day from Walker Buehler. Quinn Priester just traded to the Brewers, had his first outing in a Milwaukee uniform, and it went well. 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, and he was pitching in Coors, which is even more interesting. Now, I don't fully expect great things from Quinn Priester this year. I liked him as a prospect. I saw some upside as a prospect. Things kind of faltered. He was traded from the Pirates to the Red Sox, and then the Red Sox to the Brewers now, all since the previous trade deadline. So we'll see what happens. It was a really good outing and a really good introduction to his new team. I don't know if that's something you expect moving forward, but he definitely is a guy who I think I'd be streaming when he has the good matchups. If you don't have a Quinn Priester super fan in your league who's just holding on to him. Also, from that game, Ryan Feltner apparently pitching through the flu, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Gavin Williams, love to see it. I've been pushing the Gavin Williams agenda as much as possible. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts in his game yesterday. And the last pitcher from the Angels, I'm going to talk about Jose Soriano, 7.2 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. And so some good pitching matchups, some good pitching performances, rather, from yesterday. Right now, we're going to take a quick time out here on the First Pitch Podcast. We come back, look forward to tomorrow, and see what kind of pitching matchups we have coming up. Appreciate you joining once again. My name is Trevor Huth, and this is the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List. And welcome back to the First Pitch Podcast on Pitcher List. My name is Trevor Huth. Appreciate you joining me. We've talked about yesterday. What about today? Let's see who's on the mound. First pitcher to catch my eye in matchups today, Kris Bubic. Dude, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how good he has been this year. I play mostly dynasty leagues. I sold for a prospect that I didn't even keep in my 30-team keeper league. I just traded him away, and now all of a sudden he's doing this, and I feel not great about that. Not my best decision in hindsight, but how was I supposed to know? He's been fantastic this year out of the rotation and in a starting role, which is, obviously the Royals are super pumped about, and so is anybody who had the foresight to know that Kris Bubic was going to be a dude out of the rotation early on this year. Speaking of a guy who's off to a great start on the mound, Mitchell Parker with Washington. He's going to be pitching against the Marlins, and he's walking a lot of guys, not striking out a lot of guys, but has a .73 ERA in 12.1 innings. He's facing the Marlins. I think that if he's out there, that's a potentially good streaming option. You kind of hope the strikeouts and walks don't go the way they have been. You want him to have more strikeouts. It's not a great lineup he's going to be facing, which hopefully helps, but you're not giving up runs, and that certainly makes him interesting again. Injuries have been killer. This last week, at least in my lineups. Maybe I'm just rostering the wrong guys, the guys who keep getting hurt, unfortunately. But if you're getting hit by injuries like I am, Mitchell Parker may be a guy you look into. Reese Olson on the mound against the Twins. Now, I'm just a Reese Olson guy. Like I understand that he has not looked as good as you hope this year. I understand that he might have a limited ceiling, and I understand where Nick has him ranked on his top 100 prospects, and I get it. I just am such a Reese Olson fan that I'm always going to be excited and always be in on whenever he pitches. I have been in on him since he was a Tigers prospect, and I just really have always enjoyed watching him and liked what I've seen in terms of what he has with his secondaries and how he's always been able to use them in specific ways. His sequencing has always been fantastic for my money. He's facing off against David Festa, who will be making his season debut. He's pitched pretty well in AAA, given up a lot of hits. He's facing a Tigers lineup that we'll see. They've been doing, pretty well. So we'll see what happens. David Festa, not a guy that I'm personally interested in streaming in redraft leagues if he's out there, but he is making a season debut, a fun young guy for the Twins offense. And finally, the game that I'm going to consider my pitching matchup of the day, Bryce Miller versus Jacob deGrom. That is just going to be a fun one in my mind. I know, again, Bryce Miller underperforming this year for what you expect, but I've always loved his fastball, thought it was great. Obviously Jacob deGrom is, Jacob deGrom. There's not really much else that you can say about that. I think those two facing off is going to be a really fun pitching matchup. Lots of good stuff. And see who comes out on top. I'm hoping Bryce Miller turns it around. He's been a guy that I went after him so hard. I'm making some wrong calls, I think. So maybe don't listen to me. Why am I doing a podcast? No, I went after Bryce Miller hard. I'm hoping he turns it around. I think he will. One of the guys that I truly like and believe is going to have a much better season than how he's starting. At least let's hope so. Let's definitely hope so. I appreciate you joining me here. today on this First Pitch podcast. I will be with you the rest of the weekend. So for the next couple days, we'll have a full slate of games tomorrow. We only had a handful to choose from today to look at, or from yesterday's games, rather. Today, there's a full slate of games, which is awesome. And I will be able to talk about that after they happen. Once again, appreciate you joining me. This has been the First Pitch Podcast. My name is Trevor Huth, and of course, the First Pitch Podcast is part of Pitcher List.